You are now watching Zach Lesage, PTCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering over a special video, and we're going to be going over Azul GG's Players Cup 3 winning Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX deck. So you might be like, okay Zach, you've had a Rapid Strike Urshifu in the past, you've done all this stuff, the whole goal of this video is to basically look at Azul's list, look into some of the insight into the mind, peek into the mind of the Players Cup 3 champion. And I think that we could all take kind of ideas from that and determine like what made his list good, what did not make it good, if that's even a possibility. We're going to see exactly what's going on with this deck and then kind of see where it can go going forward. Because for those of you who don't know, the Players Cup 3 Global Finals is 16 players, 4 players from each region that end up advancing. So it's one of those things where you don't necessarily... You're playing towards a 16-player pod, not necessarily a more diverse metagame. So maybe there's some changes that we want to make to the list. Maybe his list is perfect. With that being said, we're going to be looking into it. His list is in the description below if you want to see exactly what it's looking like. Play around with it on PTCGO. If you're missing any of the cards for the deck, go to PTCGOstore.com, plug in code ZLesage5 to save 5% on your next order of codes. And you could always subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. Maybe you're new here, maybe you haven't subscribed yet, and give this video a like to signal boost it. That being said, let's jump into Azul's list and see exactly what's going on. So starting off, we look at this Rapid Strike Urshifu list, and I mean, it's actually a great list. I want to first start off and be like, Azul played a great list for the Players Cup. There's nothing that I could say wrong about this list. There's nothing that particularly stands out. And I mean, this is truly a deck that's worthy of a championship title. So that says a lot in its own. I do want to let people know that the Players Cup Global Finals are usually filmed or relatively close to a set's release. So while we've only recently learned that Azul won the Players Cup 3, Azul won the Players Cup 3 before that because it is recorded before that. It's not a live broadcast. We don't have those capabilities on PTCGO at this time. So that means Azul came up with this concept much earlier than most people. I mean, we've been playing Rapid Strike decks for a while now, and Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX has seen success elsewhere. But for an early iteration of the list, this is very much looking modern, and humble brag here, similar how my Pika ROM list was very good at the time and it didn't age as much as other decks. It kind of blended in with the metagame and looked very current. I think one of the biggest qualifying factors that you could have when you're playing in these events, or if you do make the global finals, it's one of those things where the winning lists typically are very well thought out and very advanced for the metagame at the time, where a lot of players defaulted on concepts that existed before, such as Pikachu and Zekrom GX. Typically the newer decks or new inventions and stuff like that, or the first ofs, the really pioneers of the format, and the ones that really go the extra mile and make sure their deck is well rounded out, typically do the best. So if you do find yourself in a global finals position where you're one of the top 16 global players and you're playing in one of these events, it's really good to push for innovation and make sure that you understand what's going on for your list. So we're going to start off, in case anyone doesn't know what Rapid Strike is. Rapid Strike Urshifu V evolves into Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX doing 30 plus 120 damage for Gale Thrust. You do have to evolve into your Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX before you do present it active. Just a word of caution. Caught myself a couple times doing that earlier on. And then Gmax Rapid Flow, discarding all energies, doing 120 snipe, 120 snipe. So I think that it's one of those things where this deck allows you to place damage counters carefully and really in the mind of a player who's quite strong, making correct decisions, such as Azul. It gives you quite a few outplaying opportunities. So where does this deck really see success? I mean, in general, it's inherently strong. One of the stronger concepts, really based around like those Pikachu Zekrom GX tag bolts, or the Reshiram and Zekroms doing the double snipe, or even Golisopod GX. This deck seems to take ideas from other Pokemon and runs with it, but I really like how you can meticulously place damage counters to draw the prize cards and control the game at the pace that you want. That's why Zigzagoon with its Headbutt Tantrum, you can use it with Scoop Up Nets to continuously lift back, up and down, to do extra damage counters to your opponent's Pokemon. That being said, if we're playing a Scoop Up Net engine, not to say that that's necessarily the form of thought here to build this deck, but there is the Jirachi with Stellar Wish. So if we are using Scoop Up Nets and Zigzagoon, and I mean, it seems like a natural pairing with anything as you try to build up damage counters to get those knockouts, seems to work quite well with Jirachi. So I personally like 4 Jirachi in this deck. Obviously, there needs to be sacrifices in order to find tech cards. And I mean, Azul does have quite a few tech cards, such as the Giratina, Jirachi GX, Mew, Mimikyu. But this deck does have the room for them. So Jirachi allowing Stellar Wish, allowing you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, grabbing a trainer card you find there, and putting it to your hand, boosting this deck's consistency. Also, another reason why you want to play things like Scoop Up Net is that you can lift back and forth to go in and out of Gale Thrust, so you can continuously pressure your opponent's Pokemon. So I think Azul's thought process here was like, yo, this deck looks lit. This deck looks great in testing. I think it's pretty neutral. I think I have opportunities to outplay my opponents, and I can kind of control the game at my own pace. It's not necessarily going to get countered, but if it is going to get countered, I'm going to counter those counters with my tech cards. So really building on the Rapid Strike and the consistency basis. So you can see that it has the Jirachis, 2 Dedenne-GX, 1 Crobat V to draw some cards with Dead Eye Change, and with Dark Assets. That's really where the deck is at its core, where it's you're drawing cards or making your deck more consistent, and you're attacking. I mean, the energy lineup I think is great. I think the 5/4 is likely the most correct. I see a lot of players playing 6 Fighting Energy and 4 Rapid Strike Energy. The reason why I think 5/4 is correct is because, as much as it's a little bit on the low side, it's the correct number. You can get the most out of it, and you could properly choose your attacks better in certain situations and gain a space back in your deck. So while obviously any deck wants to attach an energy per turn, for the most part, being able to use your resources very carefully is the reason why a lot of these top players squeeze the most cards out of their deck list. So expanding on the tech cards that Azul played, we see that there's Giratina. Why did Azul play Giratina? Well, for its Dimension Breach ability, it can remove a special energy off your opponent's active Pokemon. The only reasonable assumption that I can make that Azul played this is to get rid of Eternatus VMAX. And in one of those cases where you play against an Eternatus VMAX, because it's a 16-player tournament, like, don't get this wrong, Azul qualified out of tens of thousands of players who play PTCGO, made it to the top 256 in North America, played that out all the way until top 4 in North America, and then was part of the top 16 global bracket. It's the same kind of deal that I had to do it, same kind of deal that Jack Miller had to do it. The Players' Cup is a very difficult event to make it through all those steps, because you have to qualify through your own regional bracket to the top 4, and then qualify for the global finals, making it through to the very end to become a Players' Cup champion. So Dimension Breach is basically, if Azul is like, cool, I'm going to play against an Eternatus deck, I want to take away their weakness guard, so I can have turn a rough matchup, or not even a rough matchup, like a close matchup, into a favorable matchup. I think that that's huge. Nowadays, the Giratina is not going to be as successful. I mean, it's not bad, but Eternatus has been trending downward for the past few weeks, so it's something that I could eventually see Giratina as being taken out, but at the time, I think it's a great tech card in his deck, and I think it made a lot of sense. Same thing with Jirachi GX. I think Azul correctly predicted that there was going to be a lot of Pikachu and Zekrom GX decks and just Psychic type counters. I mean, Rapid Strike Urshifu is probably the biggest deck going into Battle Styles, or one of the most hyped decks going into Battle Styles. I think the Jirachi GX is really the icing on the cake here, where you could just turn off your Psychic weakness for both parties. So I really like that aspect, just to have that option. I also like that he correctly played Mew in his deck. It's something that I've learned the hard way myself, where it's like, Mew is very good for mirror purposes. So Azul basically took the whole matchup spread of what he assumed the Battle Styles metagame was like, I'm going to have answers for everything. I'm going to expertly choose those whenever I really want. Same thing with Mimikyu. Mimikyu shutting off GX abilities. So maybe that would be the Mewtwo and Mew GXs. Maybe it'd be Oricorio GX in a Crucephalon Tempozard deck. I mean, I think that those are really the things where Mimikyu is a great card, especially if you expect Mewtwo and Mew GX I'm assuming a lot of the Pikachu and Zekrom lists did not play Stealthy Hoods at that time, and we're not necessarily expecting Rapid Strike lists to be as advanced as Azul's was. Marnie, Research, Boss, I mean, I think the 4-4-3 seems like a pretty typical lineup here, giving yourself the opportunities to kind of draw some cards. Same thing with the Quick Ball and the Pokemon Communication, like a lot of these are standard counts. I think the Scoop Up Net and Switch, again, it makes a lot of sense. And the Escape Rope is really cool, kind of as a 5th switch, but since this deck is based around Gale Thrust, and we have seen decks in the past that have utilized escape ropes and switch and stuff. So maybe the Zapdos deck that Azul and his team of players played at OCIC a couple of years back. I think a lot of that learning and all those findings really went into this deck. A lot of Jirachi decks, you could also see that Jirachi decks have a certain engine with Stellar Wish, so Azul took a lot of that from the Tempozar decks that he's been playing around with, where there's Great Catcher and a Reset Stamp, and just playing a few of these one-ofs. I think the one of Air Balloon was also cute with this deck as well, just moving that so that you could always get the retreat off the Gale Thrust, bring up a Jirachi, use Stellar Wish, Scoop Up Net, and then attack. The Karate Belt is something that I found was like, it's interesting. I'm not sure if it's actually that great. It's one of those things where you can attach, and if you're behind on prize cards, you can come back in a game. I like having a comeback potential. I mean, I guess using Karate Belt out of nowhere can be huge. And just being able to go for a VMAX Rapid Flow, it's really one of those things where maybe that's just another option for Azul to outplay his opponents, or just like another option to keep his deck in the game. But I mean, I think that this deck looks absolutely clean. The Martial Arts Dojo allowing you to do some extra damage, maybe taking some weight off the Zigzagoon. Overall, I mean, this deck is just extremely well constructed, and I think a lot of it had to be Azul is a great pilot. Azul is a great deck builder. Azul made a great meta call. Azul had the proper techs. So as much as an event like the Players' Cup can have a lot of luck in order to get all the way to the top, Azul definitely put the luck in his favor whenever possible, and it really ended up working out here for him. So the whole strategy of this deck is basically get yourself set up with all your Jirachi, Dedenne, Crobat, all that good stuff. But you're attaching an energy to a Rapid Strike Urshifu V, evolving it into an Urshifu VMAX, attacking with Gale Thrust, and isolating threats to try to have those multi-prize card turns later on. You could definitely play around things like Reset Stamp. You can use Boss's Orders, like Dedenne and Crobat V are both weak to fighting. So there's a lot of free prize cards on bench. And I mean, whatever your opponent really throws at you, depending on the matchup, it's Eternatus, play down your Giratina, your Jirachi GX if there's something Psychic type, maybe they're playing Mad Party, maybe they're playing, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where choose the correct text for the correct matchup. So understanding the metagame, understanding your basic strategies, and then playing correctly in the process. And that's really where I think Azul excelled here. So I mean, awesome deck from Azul. The only notable changes that I probably make going forward, and that's really like where we are in the metagame right now, is maybe just cutting a Giratina for like a 4th Jirachi or something else of your choice. I've seen people play Cheryl, I've seen them play Team Yell Grunt, I've seen decks play Malolana. I mean, I think this deck does have a little bit of room for personality and flavor, and it also depends on the metagame that you're going into. Phoebe could be really good. Maybe Azul did not necessarily plan to beat Lucario Melmetal, or at the time Luke Metal wasn't necessarily as hyped. You got to do your research on the remaining players that you think may have made this event, because again, everyone doesn't really necessarily say that they made top 16 global finals. They may not necessarily be able to say so. But at the end of the day, most players are able to research, figure out exactly what's going on, and then properly using that based off players' playing patterns. I mean, at the end of the day, we can go in a whole different tangent, but I think Azul's deck is the result of just a lot of hard work, understanding the metagame, and I mean, certainly makes a lot more sense why he made it, not even just being the amazing player and content creator that he is, but it's one of those things where this deck is just outright, it's constructed correctly, and I mean, it's very close to an optimal list, like 100% a perfect list. And I think that's really something that we're going to see from future Players Cup champions, especially in this online game. There's obviously some wiggle room and stuff, and there's some poor luck and stuff. This list looks amazing, and it gives him a lot of outs for the metagame. And that's what we got going on for this video today, peeps. I mean, shout out to Azul. If you haven't already got a chance to check out his channel, I mean, if you're watching my channel, there's a good enough chance that you've probably seen the Azul GG channel. But I mean, I think his list, absolutely on fleek, amazing deck. And it's one of those things where it's no surprise to me now that he won the Players Cup, now that I've fully gone through his deck. And I mean, I think I could almost do the same thing for my list. There's a couple mistakes that maybe I had the Vikavolt in my list. I'd probably want to change that one card, but it's really like your idea going into a 16 player metagame is different than going into a 500 plus person chill TCG event or something like that. So, I mean, it's one of those things, if you find yourself in those positions, really try to be a pioneer, not necessarily even bringing a new deck. Like I played Pikarom, really bringing it as far as possible, and kind of future-proofing it a little bit there with the Mewtwo engine and all that stuff, things that weren't necessarily as common. But it's one of those things where with the next Players Cup 4, likely doing the same thing for the Global Finals with Chilling Reign, I think we're going to see one of these new concepts or something just completely perfect win the event. So maybe take a moment to understand every single card that you have in your deck. Make sure it's working for you. Make sure you're putting in those testing hours, because you might find yourself in that position sooner or later. I mean, the PC4 just started. Maybe you're the next Players Cup champion. We'll have to find out. So if you enjoyed this video, I know it's a little bit different, no gameplay, no nothing, but I really wanted to take a deep dive into his list, see exactly why he played things out the way he did, to get my mindset and a better understanding for what I could do for the Players Cup 4. So even though I've been in that position as the Players Cup champion, the Players Cup champion 2, it's one of those things where I can always look to become better and see. I don't want to forget anything that I've learned along the way either, so it's always good to kind of ground myself and understand what's going on with other winning deck lists, because I don't ever want to slip as a player. So just in terms of growth, I think it's a great idea to double check out, maybe analyze some deck lists like this, analyze your own deck lists like this. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Totally love to have you watch some more content, try to be as friendly and as informative as possible. And if you haven't given this video a like already, help signal boost it to the masses of Pokemon fans out there. We are so close to 4,000 subs. We just hit 3,500 the other day. We're already at 3,600 today, and maybe we'll be at 4,000 next week. I honestly can't tell with how this channel is going. The growth has been expansive. I don't know. It's crazy, but I appreciate all the love. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm gonna go edit this video and write some articles, so I'll catch up with everyone later. Have yourself a wonderful day. Peace out. If you're interested in an awesome t-shirt to help support Into the AM and Zaclasage PTCG, you can get the basic tee bundle, 3 for 45 bucks, and you can get additional 10% off. Now, there's also other things. If you're more into graphic tees, we totally got those going on here too. We got the graphic tee bundle, 3 for 60, plus an additional 10% off. All of the proceeds help support the channel, and we really appreciate Into the AM for this partnership. Totally pick some up. Awesome clothing, fit well, and I love the style. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's become a channel member so far. Some peeps love watching my videos, and I totally appreciate that, but some peeps have gone more than out of their way beyond just watching my videos and have supported me financially. So shout out to everyone who's been featured on this channel, who's going through this list of names. We actually have so many channel members that I can't fit them in a single slide, so I figured this might be the best way to get everyone appreciated and kind of showcase all of the top supporters of the Zaclasage PTCG YouTube channel. Seriously, it means I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It's honestly, I'm almost at a loss for words, but I'm so happy that you are all appreciating and loving the content and that it's hitting home. And I mean, I'm up all in my feels, so I hope that you understand, and thank you so much, everyone. If you want to become a channel member, totally consider it. I'll make it worth your while, and I totally mean that. I'll do everything I possibly can for my channel members to make it sure that it's worth their while. So thank you so much, everyone, and it's just amazing. Thank you. For everyone who's wondering on how to become a channel member, I first and foremost appreciate your consideration. You can click on any one of my videos on desktop, and then you can click join. Join will give you all the opportunities about what we have going on. You could support my content, you could choose the deck list hookup where you get access to my deck list, and we have a group coaching package as well. There's a lot of other things like custom emotes, early access to videos that I try to offer. So you would just click join, and you'd be good, and you'd be featured at the end of these videos. Thanks so much, everyone. So much for watching and supporting the channel. If you haven't already, it'd mean the world to me if you could subscribe to help support me as a content creator. Thanks again, and have yourself a great one.